go, 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 go. That's the birthday. That's the birthday.
Yeah! What up, fam? It's your boy, ZDougMD. We're live and direct out of Studio Z. It's Sunday. What's the song that has Sunday in it, Tom Heineber?
Rolling down the street on a Sunday. I don't know.
Sipping on gin and juice. Biatch.
Those aren't the real lyrics.
No,
by
they're
the way.
not. What about It's Sunday, I'm in love? No?
Yeah.
That was Friday.
Friday. Yeah.
Okay, what about Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2?
That's perfect.
People-
How long must we sing this song? I have a really good voice, you guys.
Hey guys, Tom Heineber has a really good voice. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the booze today again. Seems like we talk about booze like every day. Why? Because it's Vegas and there's a lot of booze, and also because there's a lot of misunderstanding of alcohol, its contributions to health and disease, and mental health and disease in this country. And a lot of times you'll have the press come out with a story that's like, oh my God, alcohol, or oh my God, alcohol. And you don't know what to believe. 1 minute they're telling you it's the bomb diggity, it'll save your life, less heart disease, lower mortality, the red wine paradox. The French, who otherwise suck, are suddenly living forever because they're sipping on that, Merlot, the Bordeaux, and then the American Society of Clinical Oncology comes out and says, yo, this ish causes cancer, just like everything else in life, but maybe a little more than your average stuff. So now what are we to believe? I want to talk today about alcohol and cancer and how to parse what the press is saying. What do you think, Tom? I mean, do you think it causes cancer?
Mandisa says, easy like Sunday morning. How did we miss that one?
How did
That's
we miss?
the best Commodore song, by the way.
You know what? It's because we're drinking too much, even though none of us have had a single drop today. Easy Like Sunday Morning is the best Sunday song.
I heard that the old ladies that live to 120 drink alcohol, you know?
I'm glad that
Right.
you're teaching with anecdote.
Yeah. That's
Whenever
how I
you
do it.
start with, I heard that the old ladies who live to 100 drink alcohol. There's always, everybody takes care of patients in the hospital. We got someone in our audience today, Shelly, who's an RN from Indiana, who we know, she worked in neuro ICU. You take care of that 95-year-old grandma who's like, I have my scotch every day. And they live to 95 with minimal health problems. But then you also see the cirrhotic who gets liver cancer and dies, or esophageal cancer, or head and neck cancer, or life is like a box of chocolates, cancer-filled chocolates. Where did you find that meme?
The internet.
The internet is the greatest thing in the history of the internet.
So true. So true.
So you hear that like everything, a little is okay, more, who knows, and too much bad. And with alcohol and cancer, this seems to be the correlation. First of all, why on earth would alcohol cause cancer? It's delicious and nutritious, right, Tom?
Yeah, plus it turns all your bad feelings into good feelings. And that's a scientific fact.
And we all know cancer is caused by bad gremlin feelings. Because, you feel, there it is. That my boy there, he's never going to get cancer because he vomits rainbows, and rainbows
That's right.
are delicious.
He's a hardcore alcoholic, and he vomits almost every night. Rainbows, though, because he's a gnome.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've admitted many gnomes just like him who vomit rainbows and have end-stage cirrhosis, and I have to stick a needle in their belly to suck out beer, ironically beer-colored fluid. Okay, so
Would you tell me if alcohol is good or not already?
it's delicious.
Get to the point.
It's nutritious. It's not. It does provide calories. It does not provide vitamins. It can block the absorption of vitamins, which is one of the theories for why it might actually promote cancer and be a carcinogen, because it actually impedes the management of vitamins that can protect us against cancer.
So you're saying we should all smoke weed?
100%.
That's your recommendation.
I would never say that on this show, and I would probably never say that off this show, because people who say that are losers. Okay, so that being said, I'm just trying to piss off as many people as I can on a Sunday.
By the way, I wish I liked weed like as much as I like alcohol because I feel like it's way healthier for you. You know?
Which
one's healthier, weed or alcohol?
That's a
gun to your head. Gun to your head.
Weed. 100%.
Nice.
Especially
Nice.
if you're, vaping it and not smoking it. You're not burning combustible products and inhaling them. All right, so anyways, alcohol. Why would alcohol cause cancer? Well, the vitamin theory is one. The other theory is that you, through alcohol dehydrogenase, produce acetaldehyde, which is one of the byproducts, the metabolites of alcohol. And that in itself can be carcinogenic as well as some of the other breakdown products. So if that's the case, then it's kind of like you're drinking stuff that gets turned into things that can cause cancer. And in a way, it's actually a contact irritant. So it irritates mucosa, which causes inflammation, which in itself can be one of the stages of cancer promotion or carcinogenesis. So alcohol in itself, and that may explain the cancers that are most highly associated with alcohol. So esophageal, right there in your gizzard, right? Head and neck, mouth cancer, laryngeal cancer. Those are some of the ones that are the most associated with alcohol in terms of having a higher risk. And we're going to talk about what that means. But there are others that are less obvious. For example, breast cancer. So women who drink even a small amount have an elevated risk of breast cancer in epidemiological correlatory trials. What that means is that we see a correlation between increasing amounts of alcohol and higher rates of breast cancer. Does that mean that alcohol causes it? No, because again, we've talked about this before. Correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation unless you have other studies to back up that it does. So it could be that women who drink a little bit have other risk factors for breast cancer. Or it could be that alcohol itself causes changes in estrogen levels or hormone levels, and there's some thought that it does, that increase the risk of breast cancer. So there's lots of different reasons why alcohol could be both associated with higher cancer risk and also actually cause a higher risk of cancer. What do you think, Tom Heineber?
Well, Adam says he makes beer at home, and he asks if he can send us some, and the answer is, hell yes, send it on over. I don't even care if it's poisonous.
I don't have enough cancer in my life that's documented, and I think more is always better when it comes to everything, including cancer. This is not true.
You know, vodka doesn't sound as bad when you call it potato juice. I'm just going to say that.
So somebody here is actually drinking while they're watching this, which is great. Let's go into this.
Ooh, Scott says correlation does not equal constipation.
It's true.
Actually, it does, because when you look at enough of these trials, especially when you watch that horrible documentary, What the Health, and all they talk about is correlation as if it's causation, you will get constipated. You will get mentally constipated, emotionally constipated, and I dare say, Tom Heineber, spiritually constipated.
Ooh, Catherine says, discuss wine versus beer. Is one better, Z?
We're going to talk about it.
You're a doctor. Tell me the answer right now.
The answer is nobody really knows. There's conflicting data, and wine versus hard alcohol, et cetera, and wine has been studied in certain contexts, but when they look at cancer, they've never really isolated out wine in terms of elevated cancer risk. Now, we're going to go through all this, but first of all, we're doing this for one reason, and we haven't done this in ages on the show. We're doing it for one reason. Logan, hit me.
Boom.
Science! That is all. Okay, I think we can end the show now, Tom Heinemann.
All right, done.
All right, let's go through this. So if you're talking about alcohol and cancer, you got to understand a couple things. Okay, because the American Society of Clinical Oncology just made national news, I think rightly so, because it said, hey, guess what? Drinking alcohol, even a little bit, even a moderate bit, can raise your risk of certain cancers. Now, I think it's important that the public does understand that, but it's also important that the public understands what the nature of that risk is and the nuance around it, because it's hard in a clickbait headline to put this all out, and that's why we have this show, to try to dive into the details from a medical point of view. So this position statement was basically, it wasn't really showing new research. It was showing...
Hazy.
What?
Hazy.
What?
What's a position statement?
A position statement, Tom Heineber, and I'm glad you asked. I'm not angry at you at all for vomiting rainbows on my show, because I think it's important that we step back and understand what that means. A position statement is, it used to be in the old days when you didn't have evidence, it was a bunch of old guys sitting around a table in a society going, I think we should say cigarettes are the bomb. And smoking a couple Marlboros will keep you healthy, see? And that'll be the position statement of the American Cancer Society, right? This is basically a position statement of an august body of oncologists that represents a lot of clinical oncologists, and they reviewed a bunch of older and pre-existing science and said, you know what, the science is compelling enough that we should make a position paper that says this is the position of the society, that moderate and mild alcohol consumption can lead to increased risks of cancer. Heavy alcohol consumption is without a doubt, and we've all seen patients with head and neck, esophageal, there's some evidence that colorectal cancer can increase. We've seen cancers increase in heavy alcohol users, including liver cancer, et cetera. So that's what this position paper is. And they said basically, look, the aggregated evidence was sufficient to make a statement, and that it's time that we had a reality check on this, because alcohol use in this country, we've done shows on this, may well be increasing, although that's controversial. And I would point you to our previous episodes on, I forget what we called it, but it was about alcohol use in the US and is it increasing? And we looked at the actual primary data. It's actually a little bit controversial. So either way, alcohol is a big deal. In fact, it's probably a bigger deal than some of the other shit that we worry about on the daily that has less of an impact on people's lives. So the conclusion of the society was even moderate and light alcohol intake may contribute meaningfully to cancer risk. Now, moderate alcohol, let's get our definition straight. It turns out that these societies are 100% sexist bastards. They're like Louis C.K. combined with Harvey Weinstein with a dash of Kevin Spacey. And you know what I heard? A little Takai thrown in on the side. I know.
So sad.
When they start coming for, you know what? First they came for Weinstein. Then they came for C.K. And I didn't say anything. Then they came for Takai. And that's when I stood up and I was like, enough. Okay? It's Sulu we're talking about. Anyway, so it's different in men and women what moderate alcohol use is defined as. In men, it's 2 drinks. So a 5-ounce wine, 1.5 ounces of distilled liquor, that's 1 drink. 12 ounces of beer. So men can have 2 beers, 2 glasses of wine, 2 shots of whatever potato juice you called it. Women, it's 1. And the difference is not to be sexist, but rather the amount of alcohol dehydrogenase, the ability to metabolize alcohol, is less in women. And so they changed the parameters for what's considered moderate use. Now, in the setting of that, basically, if you're less than that threshold, so you're drinking hardly anything, it doesn't really increase your risk much. But if you're getting, at least that much a day, your risk of cancer, something like esophageal cancer, can as much as double. But what does that really mean? And by the way, Tom, you can't, okay, this isn't just area under the curve average, okay? If you're taking all the alcohol in a week, so 2 beers a day, and you're drinking it all in one sitting, like, I don't know, a guy who rhymes with Schlam Schmeineber might do.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's considered
I do that.
alcohol use disorder and binge drinking.
Guess what? The point of alcohol is to get drunk. And if you're only drinking 2 drinks, how y'all getting drunk? You know what I'm saying?
Hit me, Logan. Science! Nothing could be farther from the truth with that statement, Tom, but we'll address that in another time during an intervention that Logan and I will have live on the show. All that being said, we were...
See, we're having some slow internet, just so you know, so it's cutting in and out.
Is it?
It's It's Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Broadcast interrupted.
Bunch of Russian trolls.
You know what? We've been having problems with our internet, even though we pay Cox cable for like the highest level plan that you can get, and it still keeps getting interrupted. But you know what? We're still recording, which means YouTube's still a go. All right. So this all being said, you want to immediately go, oh my God, cancer. But the truth is, you have to understand that it's going to require some context. So okay, if you drink the moderate amount, and it takes your esophageal cancer risk and doubles it. Okay, what's the lifetime risk for an adult or for a human being in the United States for esophageal cancer? It's 1%. If you double it, your lifetime risk is now 2%. So it is not, it's meaningful. It's statistically significant, but is it a disaster for humankind? Probably not. So like everything, you have to look at these statistics in the setting of what's clinically meaningful for you and your patients. So if you compare this, for example, to obesity or smoking, those have a much higher sort of correlation with cancer than drinking. And one of the problems with a lot of the studies that have been done is it hasn't really teased out, well, are the drinkers more likely to be obese? Are they more likely to hang out in bars, even if they aren't smokers, and be exposed to secondhand smoke? That could then trigger the risk of all these cancers being higher. So there's a lot of confounding things that ride along with alcohol consumption. But that doesn't mean that we're wrong about alcohol increasing the risk. It's just, what does that actually mean? Now the question is, are there cultures and societies where moderate alcohol use, as we've defined it, is actually associated with outcomes that are tremendously good? For example, in countries in the so-called blue zone, where people like Dan Buettner have described, you look in certain Greek Isles, etc., Mediterranean area, different parts of the world, where people drink moderately red wine and other drinks as part of a Mediterranean type diet. They exercise a lot, they have deep social connections, and they live to 100 with minimal comorbidities, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancer. But yet they drink. And so the question is it the alcohol, or is it the whole picture of what's going on? I'll tell you, my thinking is alcohol is part of a social network that helps you bind people together, as part of sitting with the right meal and slowly eating with friends in the right context, healthy food, as part of stress reduction with friends as socialization. I think that's actually tremendously beneficial. And the data on red wine, for example, and heart disease shows that it does decrease the risk of heart disease and all-cause mortality in certain studies. So this is a mixed picture. It's all a question of the overall pastiche and balance. So if you're actually reducing stress and having some enjoyment by having a glass of red wine with your meal, with family and friends, and there's a sense of connection and purpose and socialization, and we talked with Vivek Murthy, the former Surgeon General, just the other day about this, that could be associated with a longer, healthier, and happier life. So you cannot look at this data out of context. What it does tell you, though, is it says, look, maybe we shouldn't start drinking if we hadn't drunk before as a way to stay healthy. Because maybe that's not a good answer. Maybe you keep doing what you're doing and eat right. Because there's easier ways to get healthy than to start drinking, right? But if you drink already and it's moderate, and remember with alcohol, it's a J curve sometimes. So for like heart disease, if you don't drink anything, your mortality's here. You drink a little bit, your mortality drops. But if you start to overdo it, mortality goes up exponentially. And so it's all finding balance, which can be hard in a culture like, say, Las Vegas, where it's about banging out as many drinks as you can in a binge session with your homies and then waking up in a strange place with Mike Tyson's, exactly, with rainbows coming out of your grill, with Mike Tyson's tiger staring at you in the craw. Thoughts, Tom Heineberg?
That sounds good, Z, but I am a regular person, and as a regular person, I refuse to accept that it's a multivariable world and that things are complicated. Okay, I would like an answer right now, sir. Right now! How dope is alcohol? Scale of 1 to 1,000.
1,001.
Okay, scale of negative 600 and negative 678.
Minus pi.
Scale of pi to 792.
A Googleplex.
Scale of 1,000,000 to 10 billion.
16.
Scale of 75 to negative 3.
433,217.
Scale of 1/2
5.
divided by 1.4 divided by 3.9 times multiplier by x by pi by the Pythagorean theorem.
Blame it on the alcohol. Let's read some comments. How about alcohol in moderation? Personally, I think alcohol is a poor choice. Of all drugs that should be illegal, alcohol is it. Well, they tried that, Melanie Livergood. Oh my gosh, your name is Livergood. That's amazing. She doesn't like alcohol, and her last name is Livergood. I don't know if that's your real name, but that is the dopest thing I've read all day. So, yes, the fact that we have, marijuana illegal in many states and alcohol is legal is a function of a lot of stupidity. And also probably lobbies like the alcohol and tobacco lobby, because there wasn't really a big marijuana lobby back in the day, although now that's changing and now you've got the green rush going everywhere. So yes, everything, you can say everything in moderation, it's very hackneyed. The idea is understand the nuance in what you're doing and understand the fact that social connections, the rest of your diet, exercise and activity, not smoking, in that context, you can probably have a glass or two or maybe even 3 of wine or something that makes you happy each day with food to slow the absorption, and you will probably live to 1,000,000 years old depending on the parameters of your genetics and the rest of the stuff that you do with your life. And stress, which is something we talk about a lot but we really don't intuitively understand, it hurts us. It raises cortisol levels, it shortens our life. So if that's part of a social connection that lowers stress, you might just increase your lifespan. And again, this isn't Dr. Oz selling you a Cyberry tea. This is just freaking hit me, Logan. Science. What you
Also,
think?
coming soon, Z-Dog MD, a Cyberry vodka. So there.
It's delicious, nutritious, and moderately satisfying. And I use the word moderate because it's a trigger and it anchors us into this idea of moderation, even though you're going to binge drink it.
Amanda says, so in other words, Dr. Z, you're saying, don't get drunk by yourself. Got it. That's the message I took from
More or
this.
less. More or less. By the way, where's Waldo? I think I found him.
Z was all, blah, 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 social determinants of health. And I was like, whiskey is amazing, Z. Let's do this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Linda Carroll had breast cancer 17 years ago, did drink in high school, college every weekend. Correlation, yes, I believe it. I'm an EDRN, Linda Carroll. Well, so, and again, that's a pretty strong correlation that they've had with breast cancer. So if you have a high family history of breast cancer, if you're worried about it, if you had a history of breast cancer, these might be things where you would seriously moderate to maybe 0 your drinking. So these are ways to kind of personalize how you do life based on your own risks and also what your desires are out of life.
Ooh, Z, what about alcohol substitutes like copier, toner, acetone? Is that a healthier alternative?
Yeah, in many ways, huffing glue and huffing paint are a good substitution for many. I find myself that it's carpets, freshly installed carpets, and when I pump my gasoline, I pull out the nozzle and I just do 2 quick squirts, very like 1 1,000, 2 1,000, like that in each nares, and I'm good for the day. What do we have here? I'm at work where I'd be having an adult beverage also, Shannon Jones. Good for you, Shannon.
Jamie says, read the damn comments. Alcohol is as old as humanity. It is not the root cause for all diseases or cancers.
I will say this. Throughout humanity's history, alcohol has been a problem for many people. So if you go back to Shakespearean time and Falstaff's drunk off his ass, if you go back, I mean, I don't know if y'all watch Game of Thrones, but that to me is a documentary.
You shut your mouth. Without alcohol, how would we have invented the great game of curling?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And pretty much I'm sure golf involved lots of bowling.
Also bowling, yes. I was gonna say, basically curling without the ice. Same thing.
It's land curling. Like I said, it's only 1 glass if you never let the glass of wine get empty. That's 2, Crystal DeVore. That is spoken like a true alcoholic. I like that. Whiskey is the best, Burrow K. I don't argue with that.
Nick says America's nutrition is the problem, not alcohol. Okay, so in all seriousness, people always say this thing that alcohol shuts down your metabolism, right? How long does it shut down your metabolism for? And what do they really mean? Because it's not entirely shutting down my metabolism, obviously.
I have no idea what that even means, Tom Heineberg. Like, I've actually never heard that, but it makes no sense because if your metabolism was shut down, you would die like that. So you would have to say, what aspects of your metabolism does alcohol modulate? And it definitely modulates your absorption of certain vitamins. It modulates your thermoregulation. So you vasodilate. In other words, your blood vessels at the surface of your skin get dilated, and so you give off heat, so you can actually lose heat in the cold, even though you feel warmer. So there are different aspects of alcohol that modulate metabolism, but to say that it shuts down your metabolism is something that, doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's what people say, though.
I know, and that's why people should watch the Muggle version of me, Dr. Mike, who's both handsome and scientifically accurate. And I had him on the show, and if you haven't seen that show, you need to watch In a Hotel Room with the Sexiest Doctor Alive.
What if you're like Logan and you only need 2 drinks to be drunk?
Pretty much.
Then I think there's an ICD-10 diagnosis for you, which is loser not otherwise specified, first visit acute.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, Logan. You
I
are-
diagnosed him as being a lightweight.
that right? Actually, for Christmas, I know what I'm getting Logan. I'm going to get him a fancy scotch because he appreciates the finer things in life. And one day, with your help, Z-Pack, we will get big sponsors on this show, and Logan will actually be able to afford the fancier things in life.
Thank you, ZDoggMD, for putting a simple, easy-to-understand perspective rather than the scaremongering from companies, etc. Yo, so there's a new documentary out, and it's called Consumed, I think.
Consumed.
Yeah, and it ends on a shot of this woman, after they've had all this information about how this is a chemical, and this is a chemical, and this is a chemical, and she's just like having a panic attack. And we're going to review it.
Oh, that's amazing.
We have to.
A real doctor watches Consumed?
Yeah, but like, there's this fuckery.
Woo, is that a thing?
That's going on out in the world where people are saying, that's chemical, that's chemical, that's chemical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So who are we supposed to believe?
Well, I think we should believe the dihydrogen monoxide lobby that is trying to get us to drink more dihydrogen monoxide, which is a poison, as you know, and kills, hundreds of thousands die worldwide a year of immersion in dihydrogen monoxide and aspiration of dihydrogen monoxide containing compounds. It's also called water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we roll.
Science!
Science!
To do my own damn echo on that one. So I mean, this is exactly why we do the show, is we want to kind of parse through some of this stuff. So don't panic about alcohol, but understand the risks and the benefits, and understand also that we're social creatures that need connection. And if having a drink with friends once in a while in moderation helps you connect, you'll probably live longer than if you don't connect, even though there's you go from a 1% to a 2% risk of esophageal cancer. Head and neck cancers too, because you're right there. Don't smoke. Don't go to bars where there's a lot of secondhand smoke if you're going to drink. And maybe that's a way to moderate that risk, among other things. Because alcohol and tobacco are a 1-2 punch that will definitely raise your risk of cancer in the unacceptable range.
This has made me want to drink, actually.
Yeah.
Quite
Look
a
at
bit.
Keith Richards. His ass is still alive. Right?
I know, right? And he's
Yeah.
done enough drugs to like kill a herd of elephants.
You could smoke his ashes and get high. That's what's amazing. There it is. That's the beard cam.
Hello.
Ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade. Should we get Shelly on here? Say hi to the Z-Pack.
Shelly, come on.
Shelly is a donor. Unfortunately, Shelly, you may have to come right over here. And this is not going to get creepy, but you may have to come here, right here. You don't have to sit on my lap. But so Shelly is a donor on Patreon, and therefore gets to come to the studio when she's here for the marathon in Vegas. And we were so super excited that she could come by and see how the sausage is made. What's your impression of this whole thing?
Fun, kind of exactly like I imagined it. So
That bad?
A lot of bickering and not bickering,
Yeah, it's bickering.
back and forth.
How much cursing is there before the show?
Plenty.
Plenty. And any male nudity?
Not yet. No.
None.
No.
You know why? Because we're not those guys. All right.
That's right.
We're not.
That's right.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelly. Oh, neurocritical care nurse for years and years. Thanks for your service.
And 2 years ago, I left.
And now you're doing
Outpatient endoscopy.
hell yeah. Scoping for bucks.
I am.
Scoping for bucks. A chance to poo is a chance to heal. You know what I'm saying?
Cutting stuff out of the butts.
Give it up, girl. Thank
Love
you.
it.
Thanks for your support. And you too can support Z-Dog Industries at patreon.com/ZDogMD. Is our internet still working?
Hi.
Oh, Tom's still doing that. Hi, guys. So what happened with the internet, Log?
Dude,
Is it just not uploading?
Sucks today,
We're on
man.
like a 4-minute delay.
Really?
Hey, I'm gonna end on a non sequitur.
Do it.
What do you think about Louis C.K. wanting to masturbate in front of people? Like, that's his thing.
Well, you
Because
know,
my thing is, I want no one to watch me masturbate. That's my thing.
You high.
it's kind of like someone walks in on you masturbating. That's the end of the world. But for CK, it's like, no, that's the beginning of the day. Like something is really backwards. You know, Weinstein was known to masturbate in front of people too, right?
Yeah, what's
it's
up
a
with
thing.
that? That's a weird thing.
It's a thing. It's some kind of fetish.
I don't get it.
And
I don't get it, man.
look, here's the thing. It hurt about. Look, I don't give a fuck about Harvey Weinstein. I don't care about George Takei. I'm not so interested in Kevin Spacey. But when Louis C.K. goes down with this thing, it really does hurt. Because he is one of the most brilliant comedians in the history of the craft. To watch him do a thing is to stand in the presence of the sublime. And part of what makes him sublime is his vulnerability to actually tell stories that come from a very personal place, including these jokes he has about masturbation, which now take on a vaguely sinister tone. So it really, really, really bummed me out. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching his comedy, because I learn a lot when I watch it.
Well, let's wrap it up. I'll
think
drink
so.
to Kevin Spacey's career tonight,
I will too.
because it's over.
Raise a
It's
glass
all
to
over.
Spacey, someone we will never see again.